Have you ever felt that the more you speak, the more distant people become, as if every word you share, no matter how honest, how heartfelt, somehow builds a wall instead of a bridge? Maybe you've told someone something deeply personal, only to watch them use it against you later, and from that moment on, you swore you'd never open your heart again. Or perhaps, and this is the hardest one to admit, you've spoken too soon, revealed too much, and in doing so, watched opportunities, relationships, and respect quietly slip away. If any of this sounds familiar, then you already understand one of the oldest and most powerful truths about life. Words can either protect your destiny or quietly destroy it. And the difference between the two lies not in what you say, but in what you choose not to say. There is a kind of wisdom that doesn't come from books or degrees. It comes from silence, from observing, from learning when to speak and when to remain still. In ancient traditions, the greatest masters taught not by filling their students' minds with knowledge, but by teaching them the discipline of silence. Because silence is not emptiness. Silence is power. The power to protect your energy, your dreams, your peace, and your future. And yet, most of us were never taught this. We were told to be honest, share how you feel, speak your truth. And yes, honesty is a virtue, but only when paired with wisdom, because there are truths that must be spoken, and there are truths that, once spoken, can never be taken back. This journey is about the second kind, the 8 things you should never reveal, not because you are hiding something, but because your peace, your power, and your growth depend on your ability to hold them close. The first is this: never reveal your deepest goals too soon. We live in a world that celebrates sharing. Share your plans, share your dreams, announce your next move before it even happens. And yet, the wisest people throughout history have always done the opposite. They guarded their dreams until those dreams became reality. Because your goals are like seeds, and seeds are fragile. They don't need applause, they need soil. They don't need validation, they need protection. When you speak your deepest ambitions too early, you expose them to opinions, judgments, doubts. And those things can kill a dream before it even takes root. There's a reason ancient thinkers used to say, "A tree grows in silence." Every great achievement begins in darkness, unseen, unheard, untouched, until the roots are strong enough to withstand the winds. The moment you announce it too soon, you invite those winds before you're ready. Think about it. How many times have you felt excited about a plan, told someone about it, and suddenly felt your motivation weaken? Maybe they doubted you. Maybe they told you it was impossible. Or maybe, deep down, part of you felt like you'd already achieved something just by talking about it. That's the trap. Speaking too soon tricks the mind into believing progress has been made, when in reality, nothing has even begun. This doesn't mean you should never share your dreams, but it does mean this: share them after you've acted, not before. Reveal them after the roots are deep, not while they're still seeds. Protect the sacred space between your intention and its birth. That is where true power grows. And here's something most people never realize. Not everyone around you wants to see you succeed. Some will smile to your face, but secretly hope you fail, because your success would highlight their own inaction. Others will doubt you, not because you can't, but because they can't imagine themselves doing it. Why hand your dream to people who cannot carry it? Guard your goals, nurture them quietly. Let your actions announce them when they're ready, not your words. Because once they're real, no doubt, no jealousy, no negativity can destroy them. There's something deeply empowering about becoming someone who doesn't need to explain every step. Someone whose success speaks louder than their words. The people who truly achieve greatness don't shout about what they're going to do. They simply do it. And by the time the world finds out, it's already too late to stop them. And maybe this is the perfect moment to pause and reflect. Because if this simple idea, protecting your dreams, already makes you rethink how you speak and share your life, then what's coming next will reach even deeper. If this message has resonated with you so far, consider subscribing, because what follows will challenge everything you think you know about silence, wisdom, and power. There's another truth most people learn the hard way. Never reveal the full story of your personal struggles to just anyone. We live in an era where oversharing is not only normalized, but encouraged. Social media teaches us that vulnerability is strength, that telling the world about our pain is a sign of courage. And while there is beauty in sharing, there is also great danger. Because not every ear deserves the weight of your story, and not every heart can hold the fragility of your wounds without judgment, misunderstanding, or misuse. Your deepest pain is sacred ground, and sacred ground must be walked on with care. When you reveal too much of your suffering to people who haven't earned your trust, you hand them the sharpest weapon they could ever use against you. Some will feel pity, others might offer empty words, and a few, the ones you must watch most closely, will store that information away, only to use it when it benefits them. This is why so many people, after opening up, end up feeling betrayed, exposed, or misunderstood. The problem was never their vulnerability. It was the audience they chose. There is a deep difference between sharing your story to heal and sharing your story to seek validation. Healing requires safety, time, and discernment. It asks, does this person have the emotional maturity to hold what I'm about to share? Validation, on the other hand, often comes from desperation, the desire to be seen, heard, comforted, even by those who haven't earned that right. And validation seekers often end up disappointed because they offer their pain to those who are incapable of honoring it. It's not about building walls around your heart. It's about understanding that not every part of you needs to be public. The strongest people are not the ones who tell everyone everything. They are the ones who know what to say, when to say it, and to whom. They are the ones who can hold their own story in silence until they find someone worthy of hearing it. And in that silence, they learn something profound. Pain becomes wisdom only when it is processed, not when it is performed. Imagine you have a wound, deep and still healing. Would you hand that wound to a stranger and say, "Here, hold this for me"? Of course not. Yet that's exactly what we do with our emotional pain when we reveal it to people who haven't earned our trust. They poke at it without knowing, misunderstand it, or worse, exploit it. But when you tend to that wound privately, when you allow it to breathe, to scar, to strengthen, it becomes part of your resilience. And one day, when the right person appears, someone who will honor your story rather than weaponize it, you can share it without fear because it's no longer a wound. It's wisdom. There's another reason to be careful with your struggles. People's perceptions of you shape their interactions with you. If you constantly speak of your hardships, they might begin to see you as weak, broken, or dependent, even if you're not. And once that image forms in their mind, it's hard to change. People respect strength, but they are drawn to mystery. There is power in being known for your resilience rather than your suffering. When you carry your pain with quiet dignity, people don't see you as a victim. They see you as someone who overcame. This doesn't mean you have to pretend everything is fine. It simply means you choose carefully when and how to share. Maybe you speak about your pain after you've processed it, when it can serve as a lesson rather than a cry for help. Maybe you share it in smaller pieces with those who have earned your trust through their consistency and empathy. And maybe, and this is where true wisdom lies, some parts of your story are meant to stay with you forever, guiding you from within but never needing to be spoken aloud. The truth is, people often misunderstand silence. They think it's weakness, avoidance, or pride. But, in reality, silence is one of the highest forms of self-respect. It's the art of knowing that your story doesn't need to be consumed by everyone to be real. It doesn't need applause to have value. It simply is. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is hold your story in your own heart until you are strong enough to share it without needing anything in return. When you stop revealing your deepest wounds to those who haven't earned the right to hear them, something remarkable happens. You become harder to manipulate. You stop depending on others for validation. And most importantly, you reclaim control over your own narrative. People no longer get to decide who you are based on fragments of your pain. You decide that for yourself. And once you master that, you begin to realize something deeper. Silence is not just a way to protect your story. It's a way to transform it. Because in that silence, your pain stops being a weakness and becomes the foundation of your strength. And when you finally speak, your words will no longer come from desperation. They will come from power. And that is when people will listen, not because they pity you, but because they respect you. Another thing you should never carelessly reveal is the depth of your kindness, especially when it comes to your acts of generosity, your good deeds, or the sacrifices you've made for others. At first, this may sound strange. We are often taught that goodness should be shared, that kindness should be celebrated. And yet, the more openly you broadcast the good you do, the more likely it is to be misunderstood, misused, or even turned against you. True goodness, like deep roots, grows strongest beneath the surface. One of the most dangerous patterns many people fall into is announcing their generosity before or after they offer it. They help someone and make sure others know. They give their time or money and subtly remind the world about it. They speak of the people they've helped, the sacrifices they've made, the lengths they've gone to for love or loyalty, thinking it will deepen trust or build respect. But in reality, it often does the opposite. Because the more you speak of your kindness, the more people start to question the motive behind it. If you give and then talk about it, it no longer feels like kindness. It feels like performance. And when kindness becomes a performance, its meaning fades. People will stop seeing your actions as noble and start seeing them as self-serving. They will doubt your sincerity, even when your heart is pure. And worse, those who are selfish or manipulative will see your goodness not as strength, but as an opportunity, a weakness they can exploit. There is also a deeper spiritual truth at play here. In nearly every ancient tradition, from Eastern philosophy to Western wisdom, there is a saying that echoes the same lesson. The left hand should not know what the right hand is doing. What does this mean? It means that the truest kindness is the one that asks for nothing in return, not even recognition. It is the quiet act that remains unseen, the silent gift that expects no applause. It is the type of goodness that changes both the giver and the receiver, not because it was noticed, but because it was real. When you help someone in silence, you protect the purity of the act. You strip it of ego. You give because you want to, not because you want to be seen. And there is a unique power that flows from that, a power that cannot be manipulated or diminished. But when you announce your kindness, you hand part of that power away. It no longer belongs to the sacred space between you and the person you helped. It now belongs to the opinions of everyone who hears about it. And then there's another danger, one that is more subtle, but even more harmful. When people learn the extent of your kindness, they begin to expect it. They stop seeing it as generosity and start treating it as a duty. Oh, they helped me once. They'll help me again. They're always so giving. They won't say no. And before you know it, your kindness is no longer appreciated. It is assumed. It is taken for granted. And worst of all, it is exploited. The world is full of people who confuse kindness with weakness. They will smile as they take advantage of your giving nature, then disappear when you have nothing left to give. They will praise your generosity in public, but resent it in private. And when you finally say no, they will turn against you, calling you selfish or cold. But if they never truly knew the depth of your kindness, if it remained yours alone, then they could never twist it into something you owe them. This doesn't mean you should stop being kind. It means you should stop advertising it. Let your actions speak in whispers, not shouts. Give quietly and let the echo of your goodness ripple through the world without your voice guiding it. That's how kindness retains its sacredness. That's how you protect your heart from being drained and your spirit from being manipulated. Imagine two people. One loudly tells everyone about every small favor they've ever done. The other simply helps without saying a word. Who do you trust more? Who feels more sincere? Deep down, we all know the answer. Silence adds weight to kindness. It gives it a dignity that words cannot. And people remember quiet goodness far longer than they remember loud generosity. There's another reason this silence is powerful. It allows you to do good purely for its own sake. When no one knows, when there's no praise to chase or reputation to maintain, you learn whether your goodness is real. And if it is, then you grow stronger every time you give. Your kindness becomes a reflection of who you are, not how you want to be seen. So, protect your goodness the same way you protect your dreams and your pain. Do not parade it around for the world to see. Do not offer it up as proof of your worth. And never let it become a tool others can use against you. Give quietly. Love silently. Help without witnesses. And you will discover a kind of peace and power that loud generosity could never bring. Because the truth is, goodness that no one sees is often the most powerful kind of all. Another thing you must be deeply careful about, perhaps more than anything else, is revealing too much about your private life, especially the inner details of your relationships, your family issues, and the conflicts that live inside your home. There is a reason why ancient wisdom across cultures teaches, do not hang your dirty laundry in public. It's not because we should live fake lives or hide behind a false image. It's because the moment we let the world inside our most intimate spaces, we give away something sacred, our dignity, our boundaries, and our peace. It often starts innocently. You argue with someone you love, a partner, a sibling, a friend, and you want to vent. You feel misunderstood or hurt, so you talk about it with someone else. Maybe you share a detail here, a frustration there. It feels harmless. It even feels comforting. But the more you share, the more you give others permission to form opinions about something they don't fully understand. And once they do, those opinions rarely disappear. Even if you forgive the person who hurt you, even if the situation resolves, those who heard the story will still hold on to the version you told. They'll see your loved one through the lens of that one mistake, that one argument, that one flaw. And slowly, without realizing it, you've let outsiders rewrite the story of your closest bonds. Worse still, people love stories, especially stories of other people's problems. Once you reveal private details, they travel far beyond where you intended. Words spread, judgments form, and soon your most vulnerable moments become casual conversations for others. And when that happens, you lose control over the narrative. What was once a private wound becomes public entertainment. What was once a moment of vulnerability becomes a permanent part of how others see you. But there's an even deeper consequence. Revealing too much about your relationships weakens them from the inside. Intimacy is built on trust, on the shared understanding that what happens between two people stays between them. When that trust is broken, even unintentionally, something fragile is lost. The person you spoke about may feel betrayed. They may begin to guard themselves, share less, and pull away. And without trust, even the strongest bonds begin to fray. It's not just about romantic relationships either. The same rule applies to your family conflicts, your financial struggles, or the sensitive dynamics between you and those closest to you. These are not public stories. They are private battles meant to be fought and resolved within the walls they were born. Sharing them too freely invites judgment, interference, and unnecessary opinions from people who neither know the full picture nor have your best interests at heart. And there's another reason to protect your privacy: power. The less people know about your inner world, the less control they have over it. When others know too much about your struggles, your weaknesses, or your conflicts, they gain a kind of leverage, even if unintentionally. They know where to poke when they want to provoke you. They know what stories to repeat when they want to damage your reputation. But when your private life remains private, they have nothing to use against you. Your peace remains yours. Your strength remains yours. Silence, in this context, is not about secrecy. It's about sovereignty. It's about protecting the sacredness of your life from being diluted by the noise of other people's opinions. It's about keeping your relationships as safe spaces rather than open stages. When problems arise, deal with them directly with the people involved. When misunderstandings happen, resolve them privately, not publicly. And when the urge to overshare creeps in, remind yourself, the world doesn't need to know everything about you. In fact, the more they don't know, the stronger and more grounded you become. The most peaceful people you'll ever meet are not those who have no problems. They are the ones who solve their problems quietly. They don't make their personal lives a public spectacle. They don't invite the world into their arguments. They protect their inner circle fiercely, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. And because of that, their relationships are deeper, their bonds are stronger, and their peace is far harder to shake. It's also worth remembering that privacy is magnetic. Mystery commands respect. When people can't quite figure you out, they're less likely to judge you and more likely to admire you. They sense strength in your silence. They assume depth in your restraint. And that perception, the quiet dignity of someone who doesn't need to reveal everything, often opens more doors and earns more trust than oversharing ever could. So protect your private life like it is a treasure, because it is. Guard your relationships from the gaze of outsiders. Keep your conflicts within the circle where they belong. And remember, the world does not need to know the details of your struggles to know that you are strong. The people who truly matter will already understand, and the people who don't, well, they never needed to know in the first place. In the end, silence here is more than just a boundary. It's an act of self-respect. It's choosing to value peace over validation, trust over attention, depth over drama. And when you make that choice consistently, something beautiful happens. Your relationships deepen, your heart feels lighter, and your life, once noisy and exposed, becomes grounded, calm, and deeply your own. Another truth that wise people have always known, and that too many of us learn far too late, is that you should never reveal the full extent of your material wealth, your possessions, or your financial situation to others. It might sound harmless to mention how much you earn, the savings you've built, or the investments you've made. It might even feel natural to share your successes with friends or relatives, thinking they will be happy for you. But money is one of the most powerful forces in human relationships. And it has a way of changing how people see you, how they treat you, and what they expect from you. Once that curtain is pulled back, you can never draw it closed again. The reason is simple. Money awakens parts of human nature that often remain hidden until they are triggered. Envy, greed, judgment, comparison. Even the people who love you most can unconsciously begin to see you differently once they know exactly what you have. Some will start expecting favors or financial help. Others may quietly resent your success, measuring their own worth against yours. And a few, those with darker intentions, may attempt to use your wealth as leverage, manipulating your generosity or even trying to take advantage of you. Beyond that, revealing too much about your financial state can make you vulnerable. It gives people insight into your weaknesses, your liabilities, and your fears. It can put a target on your back, socially, professionally, even physically. People you once trusted might start to gossip about you, exaggerate your wealth, or distort your story. Before long, you may find yourself navigating conversations and relationships that are no longer genuine but tinted with hidden motives. But perhaps the most profound reason to stay silent about your money is not about how others might change. It's about how you change when you start to measure your worth by what you own. When you talk too much about your wealth, you start to tie your identity to it. Your ego becomes wrapped around the number in your account, the house you live in, the car you drive. And when those things fluctuate, as they inevitably do, so does your sense of self. But when you keep that part of your life private, you remind yourself that your value is not defined by what you have. It is defined by who you are. It's worth noting that many of the world's most powerful and successful people practice a deliberate kind of silence when it comes to their finances. They don't talk about how much they make, where they invest, or what they own. They let their results speak for themselves. And they protect their peace by revealing as little as possible. This isn't about paranoia or distrust, it's about strategy. Privacy in matters of wealth is a shield, one that keeps envy, expectation, and manipulation at a safe distance. There's another hidden danger in revealing too much. Once people know your financial capacity, they stop seeing your generosity as generosity. They start to see it as obligation. If they know you're wealthy and you offer help, it's no longer a gift. It's the bare minimum they expect. And if you refuse, they may call you selfish or stingy, no matter how much you've given. But if they don't know, every act of generosity remains what it truly is. A choice, not a duty. And that makes it infinitely more meaningful. This principle doesn't apply only to money. It extends to any form of power you hold, whether it's knowledge, influence, or authority. The more people know about what you possess, the more they will attempt to control it. But when you maintain an air of mystery, when you keep some things close to your chest, you retain control over how and when you use your power. You remain unpredictable, and unpredictability is strength. So let people underestimate you. Let them wonder. Let them never quite know whether you have more or less than they think. Because the less they know, the more free you are. The less they assume, the more peace you keep. And the more private you remain, the less vulnerable you become. The wisest course is to live simply and quietly, even if you have much. Never brag, never compare, never announce. Let your wealth serve you, not the other way around. Use it to build, to create, to support, but never to define your worth or to seek validation. Because in the end, money can buy comfort, but it cannot buy peace. And peace is something you protect, not by revealing everything, but by keeping some things known only to you. And here is where the circle begins to close. From the very beginning, we spoke about the power of silence, about the wisdom that lives in restraint, about the strength that comes from what we choose not to reveal. Your goals lose their magic when exposed too soon. Your pain becomes a weapon when placed in the wrong hands. Your kindness is misunderstood when it's performed for applause. Your private life is weakened when shared with the world. And your wealth loses its protective power the moment it becomes public knowledge. Silence, then, is not emptiness. It is protection. It is self-respect. It is the invisible boundary between your inner world and the chaos outside. When you master the art of silence, when you know what to hold close, what to guard, what to let bloom in the dark, you stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You stop letting the world shape you and begin shaping the world around you. And perhaps most importantly, you discover that the less you reveal, the more powerful you become. Because in that silence, your roots deepen, your strength grows, and your life, instead of being a story told by others, becomes a masterpiece written by you. And so, we return to where we began, to the quiet power that lives not in what we reveal, but in what we choose to keep close. Every word we hold back becomes a shield that protects our peace. Every silence we honor becomes a seed that strengthens our soul. And every boundary we build in wisdom becomes the invisible line that guards our destiny. You are not meant to tell the world everything. You are meant to grow, to rise, to unfold quietly, and let your life speak for itself. The less noise you make about your journey, the deeper and more powerful that journey becomes. And when the right moment comes, the results of your silence will roar louder than any words ever could. If this message resonated with you, if it made you pause and reflect, then consider joining us here, because this is only the beginning. There are deeper truths to uncover, greater inner strength to awaken, and many more ways to protect the most sacred parts of who you are. Subscribe to the channel and walk this journey with us, a journey of wisdom, strength, and self-mastery. Until then, remember, silence is not emptiness. It is the language of power, and those who master it never need to speak too loudly, because their lives speak for them.